We are very excited and grateful to have Fatima Susan Abbassi with us today. Susan Fatima Abbassi is a born Muslim whose quest for God and healing led her into the realm of love and Sufism. Though she grew up learning good morals and spiritual laws, it was not until she entered Sufism that she found freedom through divine love. The path of love is the path of heart and healing, and Susan aims to invite people to this holy realm where peace, love, and healing is available. Susan holds a master's degree in English literature and a double bachelor's degree in religious study and English from California State University, Bakersfield. She's also a third-year graduate from the University of Spiritual Healing and Sufism, where she is pursuing her master's degree in Divinity with an emphasis on medical spiritual healing. Susan is currently the director of the Student Healing Clinic at the University of Spiritual Healing and Sufism, and also the faculty advisor for the Muslim Student Association at Bakersfield College, where she teaches EMLS courses. Through her writings, articles, and poems, as well as Sufi healing sessions, she guides people, both Sufi and non-Sufi, to connect to their hearts and access the love and healing that is within them. She delights in seeing people become whole and totally free through receiving healing in all the areas of their lives. Her teaching today is Condition of the Heart for Healing. Fatima, welcome, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Abdullah. It's really my honor to be here, and I'm just so grateful for having me here. And I just want to thank everybody who made the time to come and join us, and also the people who will join us in the future. I just want to welcome all of them. And it's my prayer that what I share today will be a blessing to them, will minister into their heart, and they get to connect with something that I share today, at least one thing, they could resonate with, and it will help their heart to be open and their faith to increase, and it will just an easier time to receive from Allah, inshallah. So I would like to start with the Fatiha, and then we will move on to the teaching. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين آمين. So, as Abdullah said, the topic for today's teaching is Condition of the Heart for Healing. And I have chosen to talk about that because that's a topic that is very dear to my own heart. And I have been studying healing and Sufism, I would say, for over 10 years, but more specifically and seriously for the past 4 or 5 years. So what I'm sharing is based on my study, the people that I have worked with, and just my own personal experiences. And hopefully you find that helpful as well. So when I started to study healing, I was mainly looking for physical healing, and that was something that I was interested in. So as a good Muslim, of course, I first look within the Quran because that's what you do, because Quran is the book of healing. So I look within the Quran to see what is healing, how does a person receive healing. And the very first verse that I found was this one. So I'm going to just read that to you. It says, O people, there has come to you advice from your Lord and healing for what is in the heart and guidance and mercy for the believers. And that's chapter 10, ayat 57. That's awesome. I'm going to just read that one more time. It says, "O people." It's like so welcoming. It's inviting everyone. It's including everyone. It's not just for specific people. It's not just for the chosen people. It's not, just for super dupers. It's just, oh, people, if you're a person, if you're a people, it's for you. And that's just so amazing by itself, Oh, people, there has come to you advice from your Lord. So there has come to you. It's something that has already taken place. It's not us asking him for advice. It's not us asking him for something. Allah is letting us know about it. Something has come. There has come to you advice from your Lord and healing for what is in the heart. So the healing for the heart has already been provided. And then toward the end, it gets a little bit more specific. And guidance and mercy for the believers. As awesome as this verse it is, when I first found it, to be honest, I was kind of disappointed because I was looking for physical healing. And as you see, there is nothing about physical healing in here. It's about healing of the heart, spiritual healing, guidance, mercy, advice. And it's awesome, but it wasn't something I was looking for. And what I was looking for was mainly like the stories in the Bible where people receive healing, with leprosy or blindness, or the woman with the issue of the blood. So I was looking for something like that, but I didn't find anything like that in the Quran. Whenever I looked, I just found verses regarding spiritual healing of the heart, like the one that I just read to you. So thank God I didn't stop there. I kept on studying, and I studied more and more within the Quran. And then I realized that all healings, physical healing, emotional healing, mental healings, they're all spiritual, because healing itself is a healing matter. It's not something physical that we're dealing with. Something happens in the spirit realm, and then we could see the effect of that in our physical realm. So no matter what kind of healing you're looking for, and no matter what kind of disease you have, basically, if you have a headache or a kidney issue or a heart problem, that's just different parts within the body. The healing takes place within the heart in spiritual healing. And that's why I realized that's why the Quran keeps on talking about spiritual healing and healing of the heart, because healing starts within the heart. And why the heart? Because the heart is the space between the spirit realm, the realm of the unseen, and the physical realm, the realm of the seen. And the word heart in Arabic is qalb, and it just means, it turns. It has the ability and quality of turning into different directions. So if our heart is turned into this physical realm, then it means it's just being more focused on the things of this world, being focused on having a good life, making money, fame, family, things like that. There's nothing wrong with that. To some extent, we need to pay attention to those things. But then our heart could also turn into the spirit realm. And that's what we need in spiritual healing. Because when our heart is turned into spirit realm, it is more sensitive to the messages of the Spirit. It is more sensitive to the messages of Allah. And it is more capable of receiving the healing from Allah. And from there, it could receive the healing and transfer it to different areas of our lives, whether if it's physical healing, emotional healing, healing within a relationship. Everything comes from this Spirit, and we receive it through our heart. So that's why I think the Quran keeps on talking about, spiritual healing and healing of the heart. And as I said, you can use this for any aspect of your life, but for this teaching, I just want to focus it on physical healing. And I do want to tell you that there are people that, take medicine and, and it's working for them. And there's nothing wrong with taking medicine, it's just I think it's a blessing to have medicine. If it wasn't because of the medicine, many people would die. But there are diseases that the medicine cannot help. And also, you may know a person who is taking medicines for years, and it becomes kind of normal for people. They could say, okay, well, that's just my thyroid medicine. I've been taking that for 10 years, for 15 years. This is my blood sugar medicine. This is my blood pressure medicine. And they keep on taking those pills for 10 years, 15 years. And that's just become part of their life. It becomes normal to them. And it's working, it's managing their symptoms. But I would say that's not a complete way of healing. It's just treating a disease on a physical level. I'm going to ask you to imagine something with me. Just imagine a tree, okay? And let's say it has some fruits, like apples, okay? So it's an apple tree with some apples on it. And we want to get rid of the apples. What we can do, you could pick the apples up, right? So we could take the apples one by one, and there won't be any apple left on the tree, right? But it won't be long after that the tree will produce more apples. And it's because the tree is attached to the ground, right? And it has its root. And the root is sustaining the tree. It's giving nutrition to different parts of that tree, the branches, the leaves. And no matter how many times you pick those apples, the tree is going to produce more and more apples because it has something to sustain it. So to me, treating a sickness just on a physical level, it's like just picking up the apples. And you could keep on doing that. But as long as you left the root untouched, then you have to keep on picking the apples and taking the medicine, I would say. But do you know, if you take that tree out by its root, it will never produce any more apple. Like, never. It would be impossible for that tree to produce apples without its root. And it might have some apples while you cut the tree and take it out by its root, but it would be just a matter of times so that the apples and the branches and just the tree will wither away because it has nothing to sustain it. So in spiritual healing, we tend to do the same thing. You look at a problem, a disease, or an illness, or an issue, and we try to take it out by its root. And I think that's the complete way of receiving healing, because we're just focusing on the root. And that's why in most cases, the spiritual healing, because it's happening in the heart, for some people it takes some time so that you could see the manifestation of that healing within the body, because the actual healing is taking place within the heart. So, I mean, it is important to have a healthy heart. But before I share more, I want to tell you that this is what I'm about to share. It's not a formula, and it's not the only way to receive healing. Because God is so loving and He's so caring that He has so many different ways of healing us. And we have instant healing, for example. And I believe people who receive instantly, not every single one of them, has a perfect, healthy, sound heart. In fact, most people who receive instantly, they're not on a serious path or walking with the divine. They just, they're just desperate and they cry out to God, and God has compassion for them and He will heal them. And that experience by itself becomes a mean for them to enter and start their walking toward the divine. So, and another thing, so that's just, to me, that's just show how loving God is. He doesn't want us to have a perfect heart to receive healing, because what if a person doesn't have that much time? What if a person has, just a week to live, but, they're so desperate and they cry out to God. So there are so many different ways of healing. And what I'm sharing here today about, healing our heart is just, just one way of receiving and making sure that we are in the right place to receive healing. Because although we cannot make a healing happen, we cannot control a healing, but we can create an atmosphere in which healing can take place. We can do that. That's awesome what we can do. So just like, if you like to have a spiritual experience, what would you do? You cannot make that happen. You cannot force it to happen, right? But what you can do, you can create an atmosphere that is suited for that experience. Like you will probably, try to get into a quiet place, maybe a holy place, a mosque or a church, and just do some prayers, remembrance. You do whatever it takes to have that experience, so that you will have a higher chance of having a spiritual experience, right? Whereas if you go like to a bar or just, watch TV or do something else, it would be hard to have a spiritual experience like that. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it would be really difficult. So in spiritual healing, that's what we can do with our heart. We want to make sure that our heart is sound, is healthy, so that we could receive healing from Allah. So now you may ask, okay, so how do we go about receiving healing for our heart? As I, read that verse from the Quran earlier, it's just about what things that we have in our heart. And we need to really identify what is it that we have in our heart, because we are working with our heart. We want to make sure that we purify our heart so that we could receive healing. So with that, I'm going to invite you to join with me, for a couple minutes. We want to look within our heart, because you may say, well, I have no idea what is in my heart. I just don't know. I would like to know, but I'm not sure. That's fine. Even though you may not know what is in your heart, Allah knows. And it has been mentioned all over the Quran, different verses, that Allah knows what you have in your heart. Even when you don't know it, He knows it. So for now, we can experiment with that, okay? So just maybe have your eyes closed, and we start with this intention. Asking Allah that, okay, Allah, we want to know what is within our heart. We want to make sure that we can receive from you, whether if it's for a physical healing, emotional healing, healing within our relationship, finances. We want to be able to receive. We want to have a sound heart. So reveal to us what is within our heart. So that's our intention. And with that, just tune into your heart. Be able to listen to your heart. Just be aware of what you're noticing. And you may hear something. The guidance might come in the form of hearing. That's what I usually get. I hear something. So just make a note of that if you hear something. Allah. Allah. You may also see something. You may see a vision or an image or a picture. Some people receive guidance through images. So be aware of that. Allah. You may also become aware of some feelings or some sort of, emotions or awareness or knowing in your heart. If that's you, just take a note of that. Allah. Allah. So whatever your guidance was, just make a note of that. Even if you're not really sure, just make a note of that. And we get to work with these things toward the end. Inshallah, I will open it up for you to share. But for now, just be aware of what came to you. Okay? And if you had a hard time identifying anything, you feel like you didn't receive any guidance, that's fine too. I'm gonna share with you some symptoms, some symptoms of an unhealthy heart or a sick heart that is in need of a healing. And as I share, you may connect with one of the symptoms and you're like, oh, that's me. So if that's you, you probably need to work on your heart. You need heart purification. And as I'm sharing, please know that this is not to condemn you, to make you feel bad or anything like that. I myself am guilty of some of these at times. So yeah, this is just for you to help you to become more aware of what's going on in your heart, whether or not your heart is at need of a healing. Okay. So the first symptom of a heart that is at need of a healing is if you're a moody person. Okay. And what I mean by that is if you're sometimes really happy, very excited, uplifted, cheering everybody up, really happy. And then the next day, bam, you're really down, sad, disappointed. You feel like it's the end of the world. So sometimes you're really, really high, and other days you're really, really down. That's not a healthy heart. And that just means that you're living on an emotional level. And our emotions are great, they're blessings from Allah because we get to experience different feeling. But we are not meant to live on an emotional level. We are not meant to be controlled by our emotions. We are meant to be more stable. We want to be more stable than, be guided with our spirit. So if that's you, you need heart purification. Okay. And number two, the second symptom is if you are living in the past, if you're constantly thinking and reliving, your past, thinking about what happened to you, who said what, how they said it, when they said it, and how unfair it was. Oh, I can't believe he said that to me. Or that was so unfair. She was so mean to me. I can't believe she's done that to me. It must have been so unfair. And you know what? It could have been it must be, or it might have been very unfair too. I'm not saying that it wasn't. But just reliving and dwelling on those things, it just makes your heart sick. Okay? It makes your heart weak. And it will make it very difficult for you to receive healing with such a heart that is full of, feeling of unforgiveness, just sadness, grief, things like that, just reliving the past. That's not something that will help you in spiritual healing. So in spiritual healing, we try to cleanse our heart from such a feeling and such a, emotions that might be in our heart. And the third symptom of a heart that is at need of a healing is if you are living in the future. Sometimes I'm guilty of this one. And that means if you are constantly worried about the future, if just, you're worried, anxious about what's going to happen, and just, oh, what I'm going to do, how am I going to pay the bills? What kind of job am I going to have? Or who am I going to get married? What about my children? So many things, as human beings, we have so many things to be worried about or concerned about. And if you consider yourself as a responsible person, you tend to think even more. And you feel like that's part of being responsible. That, okay, I need to be worried about this because I really need to figure it out. How am I supposed to, pay the rent? But that's just create fear within your heart. Just being worried. I'm not saying be careless. I'm saying be careful about not letting that fear enter your heart, because that fear can fail your spiritual heart. It will. And then in the long term, that fear can also fail your physical heart as well. And our heart is not meant to be for fear. We know that. But with the things that we do, we allow fear to enter our heart. And all these emotions that I talked about, fear, anxiety, worrying, unforgiveness, those things, they overcharge our heart. And our heart is not meant to be overcharged. Okay? Our heart is not meant to be overcharged by those emotions. You might ask, well, what is our heart for then? That's a very good question. So listen to this. Neither my earth nor my heaven can contain me, but the heart of a believing servant contains me. Okay? Neither my heaven nor my earth can contain me, but the heart of a believing servant contains me. And that's Hadith Qudsi, Allah directly speaking to the Prophet. So that's what our heart is meant to be. It meant to be for Allah. It meant to be for His holy presence in our heart. It meant to be a dwelling place for Him. And do you know, if we have stress, fear, anxiety, all those emotions in our heart, it will be kind of difficult to have the peace of Allah in our heart at the same time. It just kind of don't go together, okay? They don't go together well. So that's why we experience all these difficulties, all these issues, because our heart is packed with other things that is not supposed to be. In fact, we read in the Quran, chapter 2, verse 112, that those people who believe, they have nothing to fear, nor shall they grieve. Nothing to fear. Can you believe that? That's the state of a believing person. They have nothing to fear, nor shall they grieve. Now, that doesn't mean that you never experience fear. You may experience fearful situation, but you don't allow the fear to enter into your heart. You guard your heart, okay? Because that's just for Allah. And that's the state of a believing servant, the state of a believer. And it has been mentioned in the Quran over and over. So with that being said, now that we talk about the symptoms, you may say, okay, how am I supposed to purify my heart? And how does spiritual healing works? Okay, I think that's a very good question, and we all want to hear that. And there are so many different ways to bring healing to our heart. And again, that's just show how loving God is. It's not just one way. He wants to make sure that there are enough ways for people to receive healing. Okay, and each person could find their own way. So there's different spiritual practices that could soften the heart and makes it ready for people to receive their healing. And for today, I just want to talk about two of them here, the two main ones. And the first one is, of course, Quranic recitation, Quran by itself. You know, Quran is a book of healing, and I love Quran, you know. And here's another verse in the Quran about that. God says in the Quran, we send in the Quran healing and mercy for the believers. And that's 1782, chapter 17, verse 82. We send down from the Quran healing and mercy for the believers. That's an awesome verse, right? Because it tells us how or where the healing is. It's in the Quran. But when I first read that like several years ago, I mean, I was excited because I was happy that I learned where the healing was, but it was also confusing and not that specific because I feel like, okay, where exactly? What do you mean? Where? And, you know, if you're like me, you like to know more and just want to know the details, it might seem a little bit frustrating to you. And that's how I was, you know, I want to know, okay, where exactly? What do you mean? Like in the Quran, which part exactly, right? But as I, you know, study more, and I thought about this example, and hopefully it will make it clear for you as well. Imagine you drive your car home, you know, you come from work or whatever, you come home, you drive your car, and then you bring your car key, and you put it somewhere in the office, okay? And then you go do your thing. The next day or a few hours later, you want to go out again, but you can't find your car key, okay? You know it's in the office, right? Because you put it there. You remember putting it there, but now that you're looking for it, it's not there. So you look everywhere, right? That's what I would do. You look everywhere within the office, the desk, the couch, the floor, everywhere you will look to find your car key, right? Because you need your car key. You want to go out. You need that key, and that's the only car key you have. You don't have a spare key. So you look everywhere within your office to find it. Why? Well, because you know it's there. You have put it there. You don't know where exactly, but you know it's there. And you need your car key. So you look and look and look and search till you find it. To me, healing in the Quran, it's the same thing. You know, we know it's in the Quran because Allah says it. I don't know where exactly or how exactly, but I know it's in there. So I know as I spend time in the Quran, reading, listening, meditating on its word, I know the healing will come. And I think that's just so beautiful. Because even though we don't know exactly how, and I think that's another part of God being so loving, because it makes it, you know, leave it open for us. Because for some, it could come as a form of recitation. You know, there are people who recite the Quran and they receive healing. And for those who love recitation of the Quran, it's been recommended for people to recite that loudly and with a rhythmic voice. And I have a beautiful hadith by the Prophet. And I'm paraphrasing here, so it's not exactly the same, you know, words by words, but very close paraphrasing. He says, the comparisons of a person who reads Quran with a loud and rhythmic voice to that of a silent reader is like the comparisons of a bottle of perfume when it is closed and when it is open. That's a big difference, right? So you can have a bottle of perfume in your hand and you may not smell anything because the lid is on. But if you open the lid, then you could definitely smell more, right? So that's the difference between reciting Quran loudly and rhythmically and then just, reading it just in your head, in your mind. And by loudly, I don't mean that you've been just yelling and saying it so loud other people and your neighbor will hear it. No, it's just loud enough so you could hear it, so your body could hear it. Because the cells of your body are listening and they're responding to the Quran. They're responding to the word of God. And so that's for people who like to receive through recitation. For others, it's a matter of receiving through hearing. So if you don't know Arabic, you don't know how to read Quran, can you listen? Can you hear? Can you listen to the word of Quran? I mean, there are so many beautiful recitation on YouTube and other places that you could get and you could listen. And many people receive healing through just hearing. And, it's available for them as well. For others, it's a matter of following the principle, the advice. Remember, Allah has already sent the advice for us. So for others, it's just a matter of following the advice of the Quran, following the principles, the guidelines of the Quran. And as you do that, healing will come. As you meditate on the words of the Quran, healing takes place within your heart. And from there, it takes place within your body, in your relationship. So it's different types of healing. So that's for Quranic recitation. The second form of spiritual healing, which I think is more popular among Sufis, or maybe as popular, it's zikr, okay? And that's just the remembrance of God. It's the repetition and chanting of the name of Allah and His 99 divine qualities or just holy phrases. And as we do that, our heart gets soft and become more sensitive toward the spirit, okay? And the key for this one, for this zikr, I would say, is to do the zikr out of our heart and not just our head or our tongue. Because once our zikr is coming out of our heart, it has more spiritual power because it's coming from the spirit realm. Whereas if we're just saying things out of our tongue and our heart is somewhere else, we're thinking about something else, then it doesn't have that much power. So we need to be careful about just doing zikr out of our own heart. And I do have an article for those of you who are interested about zikr and the Quranic recitation. It's called Healing as a Speech Event. And I think if you read that, it's gonna really bless you. And you find that on my website, inshallah, if you want to look it up. But with that being said, I want you to be able to experience the zikr and how it could bring softness to your heart. Okay, so I have my prayer beads with me. So I'm gonna welcome you to, again, close your eyes if you like, especially if you're new to zikr. So close your eyes and you could either just listen to me reciting the names. And I'm going to do Allahu. It's a simple, the name Allah. It's a simple zikr. You could just listen to me. Or if you like to say it with me, you're more than welcome to do that. You're on mute, so we will not hear you. So feel comfortable saying things out loud. But I'm going to leave that open to you if you want to say along with me or just listen and have your eyes closed. Okay, so we're going to do that for I have hundreds, okay? And after that, I will leave it open for you guys to share your experience with the class, or if you have a question or something wasn't clear to you, then I will, that would be the time for you to share. But for now, let's tune into our heart. I know, probably just take a few deep breaths. Just be in your heart. And then begin in the name of Allah, compassionate and merciful. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahu, 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 Alhamdulillah. Just thanking Allah for His healing presence, for His love for us. So I would like to hear about your experience, and if you experience or you begin to experience peace, calmness, that just shows that you are beginning to, your heart turned. It shows that your heart turned into the spirit realm, and you're beginning to receive from the spirit. Alhamdulillah. But I would like to hear from you. So Abdullah, if anyone like to share, I would be happy to hear their experience, or if they have any questions or anything else, basically.
So if you'd like to share, if you have a question, just unmute your microphone if you're joining from a laptop or iPhone, or if you're joining from a phone, hit *6 to unmute yourself and just go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Mariam, and I just want to say thank you so much for this talk today and the zikr, and it was really, really touching and really beautiful. So I want to thank you and everyone else that's on the call today.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Mariam. It's my honor. I'm glad that you're here, that you joined. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to just add, that when it comes to physical, I very much relate with you. I got on my spiritual healing and physical healing quest through a diagnosis. Mm-hmm. And I found the Sufi path 3 years ago, even though I was born Muslim. And, have been on the spiritual quest since about 2014, very heavily. And I would like a little bit of insight as to when the physical symptoms creep up, right? When things get challenging or sticky, or there's, a symptom here, or, things that are not the norm, because you're so, I know for me, it's like if something goes off path, I get really disturbed because it's not the norm, and I'm so used to living in like my safety zone, right? And so can you, like, with your own physical healing and traveling through this path into the heart, what do you do when those things come up and you're trying to keep your nafs in order, where you're like, God, I trust you, I trust everything that's happening, and please give me the strength, and at the same time, it's like you don't want to let fear overpower your experience, right? Or you don't want to have doubt, or you don't want to self-diagnose, or it's just, and most of the time it passes, right? It's energy, it passes. But in the thick of it, which I feel like right now I've been in the thick of it for, a couple of days now, it's just challenging.
Okay. So just to make sure if I understood your question, so you're saying that when the symptoms, like the physical symptoms, will go away, and how you maintain just being in your heart, knowing, trusting, working, and right? Exactly. Was that your question?
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
I can share with you based on my experience. When we're doing that and we're really want the symptoms to go away, it's like a person who plants something, a seed, and then they just want to check to see if it's growing or not. So you pick the dirt away to make sure, is it growing? Is it still, something happened or not? And then, oh no, nothing's happening. And then you put the dirt on top of the seed again. I would also call it, picking. We're picking on our symptoms. We want to make sure what we're doing, it's working. And as we take our eyes off our heart to check to see if it's working within our body, I noticed that, we we are being, in our nafs, we leave our heart. And for my experience, I learned it's really difficult to receive healing if you have your eyes on the calendar, on time, or on your symptoms, because then you're not really being in our heart, in your heart. So as you said, it's a matter of trusting that the seed that you have planted, it's working and it's growing, even though you don't see it. You don't have to check, just pick to see if something's changed in your physical body. You will be aware of some changes in your heart. So if you're experiencing more peace, calmness, things like that, then things is working. And as the saying goes, we walk by faith and not sight. So it's just a matter of just really trusting and knowing that things are working. Yeah, that's all I can share.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Mariam. Anybody else that has a question, unmute your microphone or hit *6 if you're on a phone.
Hi. Hi, everyone. This is Sarah. Thank you so much, Susan, for everything that you have shared with us. Yeah, you mentioned something about that we have some days that we're happy, and then next day we're kind of down. That happens to me quite so often. And I really want to have my heart pure, and I don't know what would be your recommendation for me those days that I'm down, and I would like to be more calm and more peaceful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for joining in. I'm glad you were able to make it. Yes. So just becoming aware that this is your state, I think that's the first step of healing. Knowing that there's something need to change. And also just becoming aware of your emotions, that, okay, these are my emotions. They're not meant to control me. I'm in control here, or my heart is in control here, not my emotions. And then just tuning into your heart, because as you tune in more to your heart, then you still go through different experiences in life. You still have to deal with, the things that you're dealing with, your job, family, kids, but they don't bother you as much. You don't get as upset or as disappointed as much. And that happens when you begin to live more within your heart. You look at things from your heart's point of view. And you're not being shaken too much by the things around you. Just the saying goes, we are in the world but not of it. So we go through experiences, but we know that our heart is with Allah and we are peaceful. And you do that by spending more time in your heart and doing your spiritual practices. Inshallah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Welcome. You're welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. I think we might have time for one more. If somebody wants to unmute themselves, or if you're on a phone, hit *6. Yes?
One more.
No. If not, we're going to wrap it up, folks.
Yeah.
Okay, no one's coming forward. So
Okay.
we will wrap up for today. And Fatima, I want to thank you so much for really a beautiful teaching and a really beautiful vigor too. I really appreciate that, and I'm sure everyone else does. And we very much appreciate your teaching for today.
I'm so grateful. Like, for you giving me this opportunity. I just know that it was from Allah, and I'm so thankful for it. Thank you so much, Abdullah, and everybody who's in the call. I just appreciate your time, coming in and joining us. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.